Hey guys, so today I've got my 2019 NBA redraft. We're now 3 years removed from this draft with the 2022 draft just occurring. So we've got 3 years to really see these players grow and develop. And I think now we're really starting to get a good idea of how these players will be in the league for the next decade or so. And obviously, it's still super early. We can't really declare any of these players bust yet. And I'm sure by the time these players' careers ends in like 15 years from now, Redraft 2019 will look completely different. But I think now we are starting to get an idea of who's going to really be the stars of this class and who may not be so great. So we do have quite a few players falling out the top 15, and guys were taken later on in the draft, really coming into the top 15 as they have improved throughout the league. So this is a full lottery redraft plus the 15th pick, and we're going to be starting at 15 and ending at number 1. And before we get started, I would like to say that this is a really interesting draft class. So obviously Ja and Zion were the top 2 picks, and they worked out great. They really lived up to the hype and expectations, and are really the 2 superstars from this class. But aside from them, it's not amazing. There's, I think, a few guys who really have the potential to become star players. I think especially 3 to 6 are guys who have definitely shown flashes and have the potential to really develop into stars. Then after that's a lot of kind of just starter caliber players, or players that kind of have 1 or 2 things that they excel in, but don't have the overall game to really be considered elite players. But they are still solid NBA starters. So I think with this draft, it's not necessarily the deepest, and there aren't a lot of star players, and it is carried a lot by the top 2. But there are some still really good players throughout this class, and I think there's a lot of potential here, and it will. We haven't really seen the end of this, and I think a lot of these guys will continue to develop. So starting off at 15, we have Detroit now taking Nickeil Alexander-Walker. So they originally took Sekou Doumbouya, who's no longer with the team. He got traded last season. I forgot who it was for, but I don't think it was much. He really hasn't been great, and I don't think he would really even be a first-round pick in a redraft. But here I have him taking Nickeil Alexander-Walker. So he was the 17th overall pick, and he is currently on the Pelicans. So Nickeil Alexander-Walker, he's shown a lot of flashes, and I think he's the potential to be a very solid, even above average starter. The reason why he isn't higher is he's still quite raw and hasn't really shown that consistency, but I think the reason why he really made this is because of his upside. He has a positive win shares, and he has a negative 0.5 value over replacement, so not great, but in 19.4 minutes over his career, he's averaged 9.3 points, and I think he's definitely shown that upside, and I think we could end up seeing him being a top 10 player from this draft. At 14, we have Boston taking Jackson Hayes. They originally took Romeo Langford, who is really looking like a bust. He's not good, and I think Jackson Hayes is a really interesting one here, as he was kind of looking like a bust for a bit of time, but he has improved, and his analytics are actually really good. So for basic stats, last season with New Orleans, he averaged 9.3 points, as well as 4.5 rebounds, although he's averaging under a block, so that's not great. But last season, he had a 0.8 value over replacement, and he had a box plus minus of 0.2, alongside a win shares per 48 of 1.74. And his total win shares per 48 is 0.174 actually, which is the second highest, or actually the third highest in this class, just behind Zion and Brandon Clark. So that was really impressive. Although I think the analytics overrate him a little bit, he is still, I think, going to be a decent starting center in the NBA. At 13, we have the Miami Heat, and they're taking Kevin Porter Jr. KPJ is a very interesting player. Again, he's like Nickeil Alexander-Walker. He has shown a ton of upside, and he has the potential to become a really good scorer in the NBA. He was originally the 30th overall pick and played on Cleveland, but then he was moved to the Rockets as part of the James Harden trade, and he looks to be a solid piece for them moving forward. Again, he's a really good scorer. He averaged 15.6 points last year with the Rockets, as well as 6.2 assists. So he also moves the ball around a lot as well. And if he does develop, I think he actually does have the potential to become a star shooting guard small forward. Now at 12, we have the Hornets sticking with their pick in P.J. Washington. So they did actually originally take P.J. Washington, and I think they're just sticking with him here. He's put up a 1.6 value over replacement and a 0.7 win shares per 48. And he's also averaged 11.8 points and 5.7 rebounds. over these past 3 years. So very good numbers, and I think although the upside isn't crazy with him, I think he's going to be a very solid starting power forward in this league for years to come, and I think he is a great piece on this LaMelo-led Hornets team. At 11, we have the Phoenix Suns taking Matisse Thybulle. So originally they took Cam Johnson, and he's not going to be available here in this mock, but Matisse Thybulle is an extremely interesting player. As you may know, he is one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. He is elite defensively, one of the best in the league. And from a purely defensive standpoint, he's an extremely valuable player, and that is the sole reason why he's at 11, because offensively he is atrocious. He's a liability offensively, and on the floor, Sixers, it's basically just like having 4 guys on the floor. He's absolutely useless and a travesty offensively. He only averaged 5.7 points this past year, 1.1 assists, 2.3 rebounds. So, I mean, especially, he's also not a great interior defender, but offensively, he does not really bring any value at all. He does actually shoot 79% from the free throw, which is a big improvement from 44% in 2021. But still, he has a very long way to go, and offensively, he does not really bring much to the table. His offensive win shares is actually 1.2 this past year, which is also improved from 0.3 and 0.1 in his first 2 years. But yeah, he's not good offensively. Negative 2.2 offense box plus minus. However, he is elite defensively, which is why he's up here, and he could still end up improving his offense. At 10, we have the Atlanta Hawks taking Brandon Clark. He's a very interesting player. His value over replacement is 4.9, which is actually the second highest in the class, John Morant. And he also has a .187 win shares for 48, which, as I said, is only 2 points lower than Zion's .189, which is kind of crazy. So the analytics suggest he's a really good player. And Brandon Clark is really just an interior force. He gets rebounds and can block shots. He's great in the interior. Last year averaged 10.4 points, 1.1 blocks per game, and 5.3 rebounds. So his basic stats aren't great, and he did this in 19.5 minutes per game. I think he's a solid player, and I think he's on his way to being a solid center. But I think how good his box plus minus or win shares and value over replacement is very interesting to me, and is the reason why he's in the top 10. 9, you have Washington taking Deandre Hunter. He was originally the 4th overall pick to the Atlanta Hawks, and he slips here at 9. DeAndre Hunter, although isn't quite what he was drafted to be, he's still a solid scorer, 13.4 points. Not the best at distributing the ball though, at 1.3 assists, and DeAndre Hunter isn't exactly what you really want at 4th overall, but I think he could still be a solid starting player on Washington at small forward to kind of be that secondary scorer to Bradley Beal. At 8, we have the Pelicans taking Cam Johnson. So they originally took Jackson Hayes with this pick, and they're taking Cam Johnson, who was actually seen as a big reach at the time by Phoenix. They originally had the 6th overall pick, and they traded down at 11 to take Cam Johnson. Even at 11, that was seen as a big reach at the time, but that pick has actually gone really well. He's been a very big piece coming off the bench these past few years. He was really good. I remember he had a really big block last year in the NBA Finals against the Bucks, and he's shown a steady improvement throughout the years. This past year, he put up 12.5 points, only 1.5 assists with 4.1 rebounds, and he is already 26 years old, so he's older. He was drafted as, I think, a 22-year-old, which is, I think, one of the big reasons why people thought it was a reach. He was older, but he has brought some day one impact, and he's also progressively improved, so I think he can be a very solid starting power forward. And for the Pelicans, I think should be the right pick for them because, you'll see who they'll get at 1 in this mock, but I think any team can kind of use a guy like Cam Johnson. He's a very solid scorer and helps a lot with the team. 7, we have the Bulls taking Keldon Johnson. He's another good young player who has shown a lot of promise and has been very good recently. He was originally taken by the Spurs, 29th overall, and he put up 17 points this past year, in averaging 32 minutes a game. He also has 2.1 assists and 6.1 rebounds. So he's already a very solid player, and I think he's going to be a very good starter. He's not going to be a star, but I think he can even be kind of an above average starting small forward. Now at 6, you kind of get into this second tier of players behind, obviously the top 2, which is Zion and Ja. At number 6, with the Timberwolves taking Tyler Herro. Tyler Herro was he won Sixth Man of the Year. I think that was this year. So he already has some hardware, and I think it was rightfully deserved. He put up 20.7 points a game, 4 assists, and 5 rebounds this past year, averaging 32.6 minutes primarily off the bench. So really good numbers, and he's already becoming a really good scorer who also can move around the ball. Originally the 13th overall pick for the Heat. That's a great pick for them. He's a shooting guard, and I think he still can get better and will be an above average starting shooting guard. At 5, we have Cleveland taking Jordan Poole. He's been one of the most improved players this year. He's become kind of a household name now amongst basketball fans, and was a huge part of the Warriors' championship-winning team this year. Really breaking out this year. He was the 28th overall pick in the draft, and just looking at his points, in his rookie year he had 8.8 points per game, and then 12, and now he has 18.5 points per game this past year, along with league best 92.5% from the free throw line, which is very impressive. He has great efficiency, he can shoot, and he also averaged 4 assists this year, which is double what he averaged the previous season. And analytically, he has a 1.7 value over replacement, a 1 box plus minus, and 6 win shares, 0.126 win shares per 48. And I think he's really become a very good shooting guard, and he's kind of known as a splash nephew. So here in Cleveland, although they aren't able to get Darius Garland, who they originally picked here, he's going in the top 4. They do get Jordan Poole, who I think, a lot of people are saying he's going to be an All-Star next year, and I think that could happen. I think he's could be a future All-Star, and he's done very well in Golden State, really improving. So I think this is the pick for Cleveland. Now, at 4, we have the Atlanta Hawks taking RJ Barrett. This is kind of tough for me, but I think Barrett does drop from 3 to 4 here, and Hawks would be more than happy to snag him up. He is a scorer by nature, and he put up 20 points per game last year, which is really good, along with 3 assists and 5.8 rebounds with a good efficiency. He's 34% from 3, but he did shoot 40% actually in 2020-21, so that's actually good. He's a solid 3-point shooter. He's not amazing, but he can shoot the 3 ball, and he's a scorer. And his defense isn't fantastic, but it is developing, and I think he's shown flashes. I think he's going to be a future All-Star for the Knicks. And now at 3, we have the Knicks taking Darius Garland. So they're taking him over RJ Barrett, like I said, the original number 5 overall pick. And Darius Garland has been very impressive. He's steadily improved these past 3 years, and last year he put up 21.7 points per game, 8.6 assists, 3.3 rebounds. So very good numbers. His value over replacement was 2.8, which is a big improvement from his negative 1.7 in his rookie year, along with a 0.125 win shares per 48 and a box plus minus of 2.6. So very good numbers for Garland, and he's really emerged as a star. The future's looking bright in Cleveland with him, Colin Sexton at point guard, and Evan Mobley at center. I think Garland's going to be an All-Star next year, and I think he's going to get many more All-Stars to come. He's a great player. Although he won't quite be a superstar, I think he's still going to be an elite shooting guard. So now we get into the top 2, and this is the most interesting part, Zion and Ja, who's going to go first overall. And before we get into this, I'm just going to say, I think Zion is the better player than Ja Morant. I think he's more talented of a basketball player. The problem is he just can't stay healthy, and when doing a redraft, you have to consider, although not necessarily who can actually play the games, because the games you don't play, you don't bring any value to the team, no matter how talented you are when you are on the court, which is why I have Zion slipping to number 2. The Memphis Grizzlies, I think, by no mistake, the Pelicans made zero mistake taking Zion at number 1. That was an excellent pick, and he is the best player in this class, but he's only played 85 games this year, as opposed to Ja Morant's 187. So obviously, Ja is going at 1. New Orleans Pelicans, we're just going to compare the two right now. So this is over their full careers. Zion has a 0.189 win shares per 48, as opposed to Ja's 0.109, so much more win shares per 48, but total win shares, Zion has 10.6 and Ja has 13.7. And Zion, as I said, he only has played 85 games. He was injured for practically all of last year, whereas Ja has 187, so Zion does have almost as many win shares as Ja, despite playing less than half as many games, which just shows how talented and impactful of a basketball player he is while on the court, but he needs to stay healthy and actually be on the court, which he hasn't done. And with his play style, I think there's going to be more injuries to come, and I don't know how he's going to be able to sustain this as he gets older, especially past 30. In terms of value of a replacement, Ja has 5.9 and Zion has 4.7. And this past year, obviously Ja won Most Improved Player. He put up 27.4 points, 6.7 assists, and 5.7 rebounds. So really good numbers. And Ja had really strong comparisons to Derrick Rose, which I completely agree with. But that also comes with his fair share of issues. I think Ja is also going to have some injury problems. I don't think he's really going to be able to stay healthy. He's not going to be able to sustain his play style past 30. And I think we could kind of see a similar fate to Ja as Derrick Rose. They play two very similar aggressive, driving into the paint play styles, which are very impactful and makes Ja one of the best players in the league. I think they're both top 20 players in the league for sure, and in their primes, they will be top 10, if not top 5 players in the league. But in Ja's case, I think an injury is inevitable, and I don't think he's going to be able to sustain this for a long time as well. So two guys who play completely different games, but both I think are a big risk for injury. And so far, Ja's gone lucky and been able to stay healthy, but that is my big concern. Although I think Ja could suffer a similar fate to Zion, which is why I might have Zion at 1. Although I also think that he's not going to be able to stay very healthy as well. So that's why he's falling to 2. But two incredibly talented basketball players. They're going to be they're two faces of their franchise, and the two guys who really carry this draft. So I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please subscribe and like this video, and comment down below who you think would go first in a redraft, Ja Morant or Zion Williamson. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.